You good to go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaitlyn, and I go to Notre Dame, and I'm about to be a sophomore at Notre Dame. I'm originally from San Francisco, California, and I've lived there my entire life. And it's very different from Notre Dame for sure, and very different from Africa, where I currently am. I'm in Uganda right now. I grew up with two younger sisters, so I'm the oldest, and both my sisters are pretty close to my age. So one is 17, one is 15, and I grew up super close to them, and super close to my parents too. And I was blessed to be able to go to school all my life, private school, which has been definitely very formative. It was a religious school, so I grew up with a lot of faith in my life. And I also grew up being kind of surrounded by Notre Dame. My grandpa and my dad both went. So it's definitely been kind of part of me since birth. For as long as I can remember, they would come over and watch football games every weekend, so during football season. And so it's always kind of like been around me, but I never knew much about it until I visited for the first time, which was it was in I think September of 2022. That was the first time I ever visited. And before that, I didn't really want to go. I didn't want to follow in my dad's footsteps. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. But once I went, I just realized that the community was like no other. And it was just so warm. Everyone loved talking to me and, getting to know me and welcoming me to the new community. So then I decided that I definitely wanted to apply. So I applied early admission, and I got in, which was so exciting. I was so excited. And from there was pretty much no other competition. That's where I knew I wanted to go. So um yeah, that's exactly when I knew that Notre Dame was right for me because they wanted me just as much as I wanted them. So I moved in fall of 2023, and I met some of my best friends here, which was something I was nervous about. I didn't know if I would get along with everyone so it was just something I was definitely worried about. But my roommate and I ended up being very close, and I ended up making so many friends in my dorm. I'm in McGlynn Hall. I don't know what dorms you guys were in, but yeah, it was definitely a great spot for me to be. And I'm a psychology major. I started out as a psychology major. I do love it, but then I also picked up a double major in global affairs, which was something kind of unexpected that I didn't know I really wanted to do until I kind of started considering career options. And I think I really want to work internationally, which is part of the reason I chose to be part of ND Bridge, being here in Africa. Yeah. Yeah, so that's something that was really important to me. So I'm also studying Italian. Hopefully, I'll become kind of fluent in that at some point. But yeah, so then I applied for ND Bridge, which I didn't know much about. It's kind of a newer program, but I knew that it was something that was service combined with traveling to a new place and having a new experience. So I was really interested. And so I applied in December of 2023. And it was so exciting to be able to research all the different places I could go. And then from there, I knew after researching, I had a ton of options for that and being around kids. And my site specifically that I ended up at here in Uganda is a school and it's also a health clinic. So it was something that was very much combining two things that I was a little bit interested in. So that was something that was super exciting. So when I got my selection or my what I was offered, which was here in Kirisozi, I was super excited because I really wanted to, travel somewhere. I've never been to Africa before, so I really wanted to travel somewhere that I'd never been. And then also the school experience is something I never really had before, teaching at least. So I was excited to try out that. So yeah, I was super excited to come. And definitely once I got here, it was a culture shock for sure. It's very different from America, which I'm sure you guys know about. But yeah, so once I got here and got a little bit accustomed to it, it was great. And my group that I'm with, it's three other girls and myself. So it's been nice to have other people from a similar culture come here with me, and we all kind of get used to it together. That was amazing. And yeah, so every day here I work at a school. It's Murrow Primary School and Nursery School. So I've kind of been bouncing around classes. I teach mostly P2 math. and then a little bit of middle class and nursery. I teach them a little bit of English. And it's been great to even just hang out and play. So my schedule, a typical day here for me looks like I wake up and go to school, teach for a little bit. We have break with the kids, and then we teach a little bit more. We could come back and eat lunch all together. And then after school, we like to go down to the dorms, which is right next to the house we're staying in. And we like to play soccer with the kids and walk a little bit on the field. And that's something I was really, really excited about because the other school in Uganda, they don't live on the campus itself. So I was really excited to be like right next to the kids. And I feel like that's brought us definitely a lot closer to them because they're right next door. They're always calling us to come over. And so that's been great. And I feel like it's definitely a bonding experience for me and the girls I'm with. And it's been great. And yeah, so I'm researching a little bit too here while I'm here for the ND Bridge project I'm doing. And it's just kind of about the schooling differences between this is a boarding school and then kind of like the government schools. So I'm researching the difference between the two. And it's been very interesting to learn. And we've also been traveling to other places in Uganda and just seeing the difference between different places in the same country has been really interesting too, especially the other ND Bridge group that's here and how different their schooling is from what I've been doing. So yeah, it's definitely been very, very interesting. And it's definitely going to be sad to leave all the kids when I have to go back, but I'm still here for a few weeks. So I'm excited to keep going. And yeah, Notre Dame was great for giving this opportunity because it's really a once in a lifetime thing. So yeah, I can't even imagine not doing it. And I don't want it any other way. I'm glad to be spending my summer here. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my story.
Thanks, Caitlin, for sharing. It's exciting to hear. So as we, yeah, warm up with the questions, I was very curious about you did mention that you had some culture shocks. So I'm curious, like what were some of those major differences that you saw?
So for me, coming from a big city in California, it was definitely interesting to see the cities here and kind of how they differ. For me, it's a lot of like skyscrapers and high rises, a lot of like just a lot of stuff going on. And here, I feel like it's more like a lot of markets we've been to, and just the architecture itself is very different, and the driving. So that was something very interesting, and also the food. We've been eating pretty Americanized versions of food here, but it was definitely a little bit different. We've been trying matoke, which I've never had before, but it's good. We like it, and the G-nut sauce, we like that, and chapati. So that was something that I was expecting, but I didn't know what to expect. So yeah, that was definitely a few of the things that were different for me. And also just there's a lot of natural beauty here. I feel like in America there's a lot of industrialization of everything, but here it's so beautiful. I feel like the nature isn't ruined by, the people living here. So that's been really beautiful.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Do we have any questions for Caitlin?
None on my part.
Hey, um, so how is the interaction with the kids, or how do you get to bring yourself to their level so that they understand you? Or what is the challenge when you are teaching such a young age?
Yeah, that's definitely been a challenge, especially kind of the accent differences. I feel like sometimes I have to really watch how I'm saying words and be really intentional and slow with how I talk. So that was definitely one of the biggest challenges that I'm still kind of facing a little bit when I teach. But what's been helpful is sticking kind of with the same class and getting to know all the kids in that class. So they kind of learn a little bit more about how I communicate and I learn about how they communicate. It's still kind of a tricky language in the sense that not everyone knows a lot of English. So that's kind of a barrier sometimes when I'm trying to teach. Um, but I think just something that's been helpful has been like learning to slow down and kind of like trying to understand. I've been learning a little bit of Rutoro, which is the local language here. So things like that, kind of like bridging, I guess, the two different cultures. That's been really helpful. Yeah. And also knowing that every student has a different way of learning, a different pace of learning. that was something that was definitely unexpected. There's a lot of kids that didn't attend nursery school, so the kids that do attend nursery school and P2 are definitely more advanced. And so it's hard being one teacher for a class of 50 people and everyone goes at a different pace. So that was also something that I kind of had to adjust to. Um, there's one student in my P2 class that has a learning disability. And so we try to give him a little bit of special help when we can on the side when they're doing work because he just has trouble connecting what I say to his own work. So that's been something, just kind of picking the differences between the students and learning about them and their pace and their challenges and how to communicate with them best.
Thanks for sharing that. Um, maybe someone else is thinking of a question. I was just curious, do you get to do something out of the ND Bridge work? Like you've said, your typical days working at the school and probably having lunch. Have you had some time to maybe explore and get to know Uganda a little bit? Do you get to do something else?
Yeah, we definitely have. We have weekends where we don't have class. So we just recently went to Queen Elizabeth National Park, which was really cool. We saw some lions and elephants and hippos, and that was really, really cool. Another time we went to Jinja to visit the other school, and they had one of the sisters had her profession of vows. So we got to see the city of Jinja and also see a different school environment. So that was really interesting. We also went to Fort Portal a couple times, which is probably the closest city to us, because we're a little bit kind of off the grid. But yeah, that's been really, really cool. And Kampala as well. So just kind of when we have free time, trying to explore the country while we're here, because it's a great opportunity to be here. And we kind of want to, do the service work, but also learn about the culture and different important parts of the country that they have to offer. So we've definitely done really, really cool things while we've been here. And that's been really great and interesting to see.
That's great. So how long is the program? How long will you be in Uganda?
So I came here the last day of May, and I've been here for about 5 weeks now, and I
Mhm.
have 3 more weeks before I leave. So it's a total of 2 months, which I thought would be a long time, but it's actually been going by very fast. So I feel like I'll be home before I know it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad that, yeah, you feel like it's going fast. That means you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did talk to Lily Mayfield last month.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's also in the same program. I'm not sure if you're in the same place, but do you get to interact with different people in the same program in the same country? Is there sort of a network that connects all of you?
Yeah, there is. So yeah, we're not in the same location. She's in Jinja and I'm more near Fort Portal. So we're not in the same location, but we went to Jinja the second week, and we visited their school. So yeah, we've definitely been connecting a little bit with them. And also there's a fellowship program that's different from ND Bridge, but it's still Notre Dame students, just a year above us. So there's two students in Fort Portal. There's three students actually at the secondary school in our location, and then there's two boys at the secondary school in Jinja. So there's definitely a lot of us in Uganda, and we've all met up, especially for the profession of vows. We met up in the second week, and I think next weekend they're coming to Fort Portal for some priest ordinations. So we're all going to be here for that too. So it's definitely been nice to have kind of a Notre Dame community in such a foreign place to us, to kind of rely on each other and, see how we're all doing, check in, make sure we're not like feeling alone. So that's been very interesting too, seeing how all of our experiences are different. Especially, I thought their school experience would be very similar to ours, and it is very similar, but there's definitely different ways that they teach and, different parts of the school and their way of living in Jinja, especially since they're in such a busy town and we're very, very just kind of like away from everything. So it's interesting how the experiences differ based on kind of where we are in the country.
That's great to hear. Does anyone have a question for Kaitlyn?
No, none from me.
For the Jean, it's good to see you too.
Hi, I I joined in like late because I have just arrived in New York.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks for joining.
thank you. Yeah, it's great to hear from those experience in Uganda.
Mhm.
I guess the now the weather is quite hot, and
Hmm.
I would like to hear about your experience, Kaitlyn, about that. Do you have any difficulties like adapting to the weather?
Yeah, it's very hot here, definitely. I do notice though in Jinja it was hotter than it is where I am. So that's actually a relief because I feel like when I was in Jinja, I would go outside and I'd immediately be sweating. Here it's hot, but it's manageable, so that's really nice. I grew up in California, which is it's pretty consistent all year. It's about 70, 75 all year Fahrenheit. So it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's just pretty nice, pretty cool. Um, and Notre Dame, though, I will say, is very, very hot in the summertime and the fall when we return. So I'd say it's pretty similar to that. It's in Jinja, especially, it was a little bit unbearable, like to be outside for more than like 10 minutes at a time. So definitely that. And it's interesting here how there's the dry and wet season. So it's the dry season right now, but it has been raining a little bit. It rained this past weekend, and our first week here, it rained every day in the afternoon. So, and it was the craziest rain I've ever seen. It was so much at one time, which I'd never experienced something like that. So that was definitely very interesting to see. Yeah, so the weather here it's definitely hot, but I'd say it's pretty manageable where I am, which is good.
Great to hear that. Thanks.
You did mention something about doing some research. So is that something that comes with like is it a requirement of the ND Bridge that you do travel, do some surveys, but also do some research, or that's something that you decide on a person to person or case to case basis? And I guess a follow-up would be, do you get specific research topics that you can look at, or do you go by your interests?
Yeah, so ND Bridge, part of it is the research project. So over the course of the 2 months, every week we do a little bit more of our research and talk about our experience here. And then at the end, we have a little bit of a few options for kind of how we present our research. We can do a paper or a photo collage and just kind of things like that, some creative work. So it's been a part of ND Bridge for the whole time I've been here. And even we had to take classes before we came. So it's been part of that as well. Um, and we got to choose our own research topic. And as we kind of go through this process, we can see if maybe there's something better we want to research and change it a little bit. So yeah, my research is focused on the schooling system here, just because I feel like that's very tailored to what I'm doing. So that's kind of why I chose mine. Um, yeah, what was that follow-up part of your question?
I think you've answered it. I was curious if it's already predetermined the kind of topics that you choose, or does it go with your interests?
Yeah, so it's something that we kind of come up with as we go through the process, and everyone's is different. So, yeah, it's very individual.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you have any questions for us? Did something come up? Or is there
Yes,
anything that you want to share that you haven't already?
I was very curious kind of about the Notre Dame experience coming from Africa and kind of how the adjustment is for that.
Yeah, I guess we all have experiences with that. So,
Mm.
yeah, does anyone want to start? Okay, I can go. So, I was in Notre Dame in 2016. Um, so for me, I guess, yeah, my experience was different in a way that I was there for about a year. I was a Fulbright teaching assistant, so I was there for a relatively shorter time. So I believe the rest might have a different experience from mine. But yeah, it was a huge yeah, culture shock, like you're saying. I mean, going to the US and also coming back home. So you sort of have, yeah, different levels of shocks.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for me, it was the difference in the weather. I was always reading about snow and seeing it in movies. Um, but that was about it. But my first experience with the snow was in yeah, in Notre Dame. So that was huge. And I was taking classes as well at the campus, and yeah, I found that to be very challenging at first before I got used to it. But yeah, I think it was such an amazing experience. Even bouncing into different other schools later on. And even now in Canada, I feel like my experience at Notre Dame sort of started that process. And I thought it was very hard, but yeah, moving forward, I always compare it back, and I think it's sort of, yeah, did an orientation for me into the, let's say, North American experience.
Mhm.
I later on went to Ohio and now I'm in Canada. So you can see it's not so different weather-wise from Ohio, and Ohio is not very different from where I am right here in Canada. So weather-wise, yeah, that was such an experience. But but then again, going back home after the 1 year, there was a reverse culture shock in terms of, oh, now I was witnessing or seeing other things that I wasn't noticing before. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was great. And I think one thing you said about being able to connect with other people and sharing your experiences, sometimes realizing that they have the same challenges, sometimes not, but that's usually very helpful to sort of help you, yeah, cope.
Wow, that's very interesting. Kind of seeing how it goes both ways, the
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, for me, once I arrived in America, I went to my orientation in Stanford. So it was such a huge change. And then went to Notre Dame, and it was all so confusing and everything. But I guess, yeah, getting used to it. But then again, you said the community at Notre Dame was very great. So we had a community at the CSLC where we were all Fulbrights, and yeah, we would check in, and we had sort of a supervisor too. That was very, very, yeah. Yeah, and Father Bob was my uh Swahili was me and him. So he was we the two of us were the two Swahili department people. So that was also amazing. Yeah. Does anybody want to add on your experience? Mine was very short but beautiful. I believe some people went there for a longer period, so I believe it was so different. If you want to share, we do have about 10 minutes.
So, mine was exceptional because when I joined Notre Dame, it was during COVID, and you
Oh,
know,
wow.
that started really like in sort of turmoil. Nobody knew what is happening, and we were like expecting many things to happen, but what all would happen is that we find like a slot in with the appointment with the embassy, and then got in the visa, and then we traveled. And even when we reached the campus, nobody would see any other around. We were still online, doing everything online, even though being on campus. So everything was quite new and just peculiar, I would say. But still, the my American experience, because now I'm at Fordham in New York, I would say, it was not so easy, but it became the foundation of everything. I think afterward, people would be interested to see who is around and what is the needs they would be having there, and so we nonetheless connected and made it through. And so I moved in on January 6th, 2021. And the first news I got, as I said, see uh, the problems with the President Trump election and the Capitol event, when people were around Washington, D.C., shouting and doing whatever they were doing. And so, but, the whole future of my school experience here in the US uh, was born from that unclear situation. So I saw how people can be caring, telling you what to do, even if they are not seeing you around, because you were to be online and so on. But anyway, we coped with the difficult times together in a certain way that I guess would not be so easy if I were to do it in Africa by that time. But they asked us also our experience back home. How are people coping with this difficult time, and how school is trying to come up despite all this COVID situation around the world? And yeah, so I remember Notre Dame being the strongest schools school in the US to cope with the COVID, because we came in, I guess, before any other could imagine them moving in students physically, because people were not so sure whether they would be together again as a university and continue our program together. So, but we made it really progressively. Instead, you can remember the motto was here. We want you here, and so you would say, yeah, this here is meaningful because everybody wanted to be here and to feel here again at home, and that's what we did. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy. I can't imagine being there during COVID. I feel like it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, I was there. I believe the welcome back when students are coming back in the fall, that was my highlight. It was such, you get to see the campus in a very different light. So for the John, it's it's interesting uh to be there in a space where there was so much going on and so much, flexibility in terms of things. Yeah, it'd be curious to, yeah, to know how other people's experiences were. Um, yeah, but we do have these spaces every month to share. You're welcome to, yeah, drop by and see. I believe next month it will be yeah, someone else also, I think in the ND Bridge program as well, sharing. So if you want, you could stop by and yeah, also hear their experiences and other people's experiences as well. I'm not sure if someone has a question or if you have another question for us. We have about 4 minutes, so
Would you say that you still feel very connected to Notre Dame even after leaving?
okay, you can go, Father John.
Yeah, I think the Notre Dame's experience is the one that follows me wherever I go. Uh, I, I I still work with people who can read my work. I I am still part of this like a group like such groups as this one, and really I feel connected with also scholars who are doing different things and different programs around the world, and it's such beautiful experience. I mean, you it's very hard to get detached from Notre Dame once you have been there. It's the school, it's the family you have, like the backup. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Father Jean has said, just to add this, just we do have a lot of, we would say annual activities as a club. So we do have a dinner. We sometimes have panel discussions that sort of bring people back together. We have like the day of service. Usually people would organize things to do depending on where they are. For example, people in Kenya would do something. Last year, for example, they did visit a prison, which was really great to see, share pictures and all, and their experiences. This year, we had a group in, I'm not sure if it's Congo or DRC, who met up and did something. We had Rose do visit a school in Uganda. So, yeah, and then sharing the experiences. So there's numerous ways here they share out monthly. And I believe, I think our president Miriam had visited Notre Dame in April this year for a leadership conference. So there's multiple ways of still staying engaged. Personally, I haven't been able to go back, but I do have connections. For example, my supervisor when I was in Notre Dame did visit me in Canada. Was it last year at some point? I still talk to some of my friends, the friends that I made while I was there, and actually was planning to visit this summer. Um, but yeah, I wasn't able to go specifically to Notre Dame, but visited different parts of the country. So yeah, I believe yeah, Notre Dame is such a community. Yeah. It stays on.
Mhm.
Before we're kicked out, thank you so much, Kaitlyn, for sharing with us. And I wish you all the best. And yeah, we hope to see you again if you can make it in other share outs. And
Thank you so
thank
much
you
for having
everybody for coming. Sorry.
Thank you for having me.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, have a good rest of your day. Um,
Mm.
all right, bye everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.